I usually will face this way for the most part and just groom down. Keep your hand, your spare hand on the horse so that if the horse moves or stomps, and you can use that hand to help push you away. Never, ever, ever, ever get on your knees when you're down here. Never do that, because the time that it takes you to do this and to get out of the way, you've already got the horse to be on top of you. These guys have the fastest reaction time of all domesticated land animals. So and trust me, I've been there and done that. I've had things happen just like that. A snap in a time is how quick somebody can get hurt if a horse spooks or moves suddenly. So always stay on your feet, and I don't recommend sitting on your heels, because that's almost as bad as being on your knees, except you can get up a little quicker. But just be down. I know we don't like to bend over and do our back, but I just keep my hand, my spare hand on the horse when I'm grooming the legs. When you're doing the back legs, same thing. Just groom. And I keep hands on them at all times, especially if I'm reaching through doing the inside of the other leg. I'm keeping my hand here because if she lifts her legs to kick, I can kind of push her legs so it doesn't kick me. Most of these horses aren't going to kick, but if they're spooked, things can happen. All right. Did I answer it? Yes. Okay. Any other questions?
So do you start at the one side with the curd comb, that smaller comb, and you go all the way around, just half the horse?
I would do the whole horse. While you've got the one brush in your hand, start that, just work your way around, doing all this, go all the way around, and when you come around this way, start back at the front and work your way to the back.
And then you do the legs?
Yep, you can do the legs with whatever brushes. Don't do it with the metal one.
Right.
Sometimes I have been known to use this metal brush for really, really stuck on stuff, but I will be very precise with it. I'm not going to sit there and do this. I might go like this and just try to get that really hard stuck on mud off. Sometimes I've used these to get the mud off their hooves. So if they come up and their hooves are really muddy, I might start with this before I start any grooming and do this and scrape the mud off of any parts of their hooves. And that way it'll dry by the time, because the hooves are the last thing I usually do. But it's the first thing I clean off if they're full of mud. And by the time you get around, you don't want to have your hand full of mud. So if you've cleaned it off, it'll dry up a little bit pretty quick. And then by the time you get around to doing the hooves, you're not having a handful of mud.
And do you do the mane first?
I usually do the mane last.
Okay.
The mane, it really doesn't matter, but I usually will do it last.
Okay.
And then after I've done the mane, I might take one of the finishing brushes and just swoosh off any hairs that might have fell down there. All right, so let's go tie some of these horses up.
Are we going to demonstrate cleaning out the hoof yet?
Well, I'll demonstrate it, but I'm going to help everybody as they go through.
Okay.
Because it's kind of hard just by watching it. You really got to really get down there and do it. So I'm going to tie her up just a little bit now so she doesn't move so much. You know how to do all this, right? If she pulls, this whole fence will come down because it's not really in the ground. All right, so I start with my hand on the shoulder. When they're doing the first one, I run it down her leg to let her know I'm coming. Sometimes as your hand's running down, they'll pick their leg up. If they don't, I'm pushing into her body a little bit and squeezing. The squeeze, there's a tendon right there. When you squeeze the tendon, it makes them want to pick their foot up. I've got my hand on this backwards with the palm facing down, and I'm going to scoop twice in the little cracks. You know, it's hard to see. I need to turn her around so I need to, so y'all can see the bottom of the hoof. Turn this way.
You should have been standing by me. Yeah.
Probably enough there to see this front one of the waist. All right, so I'm gonna run my hand down, squeeze, and she picks it up. You gotta cradle it. Oops, I lost it. It's in her hair somewhere. You have to cradle the hoof with your left hand or right. Well, I'm right-handed, so I cradle with my left. So you stick it in there, swoop, stick it in there, swoop. That's the first two things I do. And most of the time, if there's a bunch of stuff in here, it'll come out with it. Then you want to go in here in this crack. Oh, no ma'am. And clean out the best you can, and make sure you see hoof. If you don't see hoof, you're not done. And then you can check right in here. Sometimes this is deep on some horses and a rock can get stuck in there. But the goal is to make sure there's no rocks and debris stuck down in here. And then you can just sort of clean up around the edges.
Is that hard area soft tissue?
The little
Then
frog,
that looks like a heart.
the frog is what we call the heart of the hoof. It's kind of a rubbery
Cartilage?
cartilage. Yes, it's kind of a cartilage type material. And when the horse steps down, it pushes in and it almost like pumps blood throughout the hoof. And it doesn't hurt them because you think she's 1,100 pounds. So she's stepping down on the ground with all her weight. Of course, probably not all 1,100 in 1 foot, but there's nothing you can do to hurt this horse with a hoof pick unless they're already hurt. And that means if they have an abscess, a sore that's already there, if you scrape through that sore and they go, ouch, that hurts, you know something's going on. And then you want to tell somebody about it and say, hey, she keeps yanking her foot back when I touch this certain area on her hoof. So just let someone know and we'll take a look at it. Sometimes thrush gets in there too, which is, everybody kind of probably knows what thrush is. It's a bacteria that eats away things. And if they get it down in the cracks, and you can tell by the foul smell, when you pull it out, you'll have this strong smell. It'll be black, and if it's really, really bad, it'll be gooey and pussy.
If you feel me vomiting, you'll know the horse has thrush.
Most of the time, just if it's not to the point of the pussy part, you can clean it out really good and it'll resolve on its own, because thrush is an anaerobic bacteria, and when you get air to it, it helps kill it. But if it's really super bad, we've got some stuff called Thrush X, thrush medicine that we squirt on it, and it'll kill it, usually with one or two applications. All right, any other